Welcome back to our channel, dear viewers. Today is a fantastic day to dive deep into the ever-evolving drama of Genoa City. We have some incredibly intense developments to discuss regarding the Newman family, so grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let us unpack the latest twists and turns together. Within the sterile, suffocating walls of the rehabilitation center, Nick Newman finds himself fighting the most grueling battle of his entire life. The physical toll of his recent relapse is evident, but it is the psychological warfare raging inside his mind that truly threatens to pull him under. For weeks, Nick has attempted to isolate himself from the chaotic gravity of his high-profile family, believing that distance was the only way to shield them from his destructive spiral. He has wrestled with the crushing weight of the Newman legacy, the overwhelming expectations placed upon his shoulders, and the terrifying realization of his own profound vulnerability. However, the isolation has only amplified his inner demons, forcing him to confront the inescapable truth that he cannot heal in a vacuum. The walls he built to keep his loved ones out have slowly transformed into a prison of his own making, and the time for avoidance has definitively come to an end. The catalyst for this shift in perspective was a profoundly emotional and raw conversation with his mother, Nikki Newman. Despite the catastrophic secrets currently threatening to tear the fabric of their family apart, Nikki's visit served as a desperate lifeline for her broken son. Her presence, steeped in their shared tragic history of battling addiction, pierced through Nick's defensive armor. She offered him a mirror to his own suffering, reminding him of the resilience that runs through their veins, regardless of the lies and betrayals that have recently come to light. This poignant interaction softened Nick's hardened resolve, stripping away his pride and leaving him with a fragile but genuine desire to reconnect. It was this pivotal moment of maternal grace that prepared Nick for an even more daunting encounter, facing the formidable patriarch of the family, Victor Newman. When Victor Newman arrives at the rehabilitation center, the atmosphere immediately shifts, heavy with the undeniable presence of the billionaire titan. The contrast between Victor's usual ruthless corporate persona and his current role as a deeply concerned father is stark and poignant. Walking down the quiet clinical hallways, Victor carries an immense burden of guilt and fierce determination. He is a man who has spent his entire life conquering industries and crushing adversaries, yet he finds himself entirely powerless against the chemical demons destroying his son. This realization fuels a quiet, simmering intensity within him. He is not there to judge or to issue ultimatums. He is there to serve as an immovable anchor for a son who is desperately adrift in a sea of addiction and despair. The meeting between father and son is fraught with an unspoken, heavy, emotional resonance. Nick, shedding the last remnants of his pride, offers Victor a level of raw honesty that is rare within the guarded Newman dynamic. He speaks candidly about the agonizing reality of his struggles, the relentless cravings, and the terrifying moments when he believed he would not survive the night. Nick confesses his deep-seated fears of inadequacy, the shame of his relapse, and the overwhelming burden of trying to maintain the facade of a strong, infallible Newman heir. It is a moment of profound vulnerability, as Nick lays his shattered soul bare before the man whose approval he has sought his entire life, leaning entirely on Victor for the strength he currently lacks. Instead of the harsh criticism or disappointment Nick might have anticipated, Victor responds with an unwavering, fierce wave of paternal support. He absorbs the full impact of his son's pain, his usual stoicism giving way to a rare display of emotional accessibility. Victor assures Nick that his only expectation is for him to focus on healing, promising that the vast, limitless resources of the Newman Empire are entirely at his disposal. He validates Nick's struggle, emphasizing that true strength lies in the courage to admit defeat and ask for help. This profound validation from Victor acts as a crucial turning point for Nick, providing him with the foundational support necessary to truly commit to the arduous journey of recovery that lies ahead. However, as the emotional intensity of their reunion settles, the conversation inevitably shifts toward the external forces that contributed to Nick's catastrophic downfall. Nick's underlying anxieties begin to surface, specifically his lingering, deeply rooted trauma regarding the sociopathic machinations of Matt Clark. Nick articulates his profound dread of returning to a world where Matt still operates freely, acknowledging the terrifying role Matt played in accelerating his descent into darkness. The psychological scars left by Matt's relentless manipulation and grooming tactics remain fresh, and Nick expresses a paralyzing fear that his fragile sobriety will be instantly sabotaged the moment he steps outside the protective walls of the clinic and back into Matt's crosshairs. Hearing the raw terror in his son's voice, Victor's demeanor undergoes a chilling transformation. The comforting, vulnerable father is instantly replaced by the ruthless, calculating tactician who has ruled Genoa City for decades. Leaning in closely, Victor's tone drops to an ice-cold whisper as he issues a cryptic but absolute confession regarding his plans for Matt Clark. He assures Nick that the threat is not just being managed, but permanently neutralized. Without divulging the specific, illegal details of his operations, Victor makes it terrifyingly clear that he has personally orchestrated a definitive end to Matt's reign of terror, promising his son that he will never have to look over his shoulder in fear of that particular monster ever again. Victor's overarching plan for Matt Clark is a masterpiece of psychological and physical warfare, demonstrating the terrifying lengths to which he will go to protect his bloodline. Utilizing his immense wealth, his shadow network of security operatives, and his ability to bend the justice and medical systems to his iron will, Victor has effectively erased Matt from the board. He has bypassed conventional law enforcement, opting instead for a far more draconian solution. By manipulating key figures and fabricating undeniable circumstances, Victor has ensured that Matt is not merely imprisoned, but buried alive within the most oppressive, inescapable confines of a maximum security psychiatric facility, stripping him of all autonomy and human rights. The nightmare awaiting Matt Clark is beyond anything the career criminal could have ever anticipated. Stripped of his freedom, his contacts, and his manipulative power, Matt is thrust into a terrifying reality where he is entirely at the mercy of a system controlled by his greatest enemy. The psychiatric ward is a fortress of despair, characterized by sensory deprivation, heavy medication protocols, and absolute isolation. For a man who thrives on control and psychological domination, this environment is specifically designed to break his mind. Matt is forced to confront the suffocating realization that he has finally crossed a line with the Newman patriarch that cannot be uncrossed, and that his punishment will be an eternity of clinical torment. To ensure the absolute perfection of this containment strategy, Victor has implemented a series of draconian measures aimed at controlling every single aspect of Matt's existence. He has deployed his own covert operatives to monitor the facility's staff, manipulated administrative protocols to restrict any and all outside contact, and ensured that Matt is classified as a highly dangerous, delusional patient whose claims of being framed are treated as symptoms of severe psychosis. Victor believes he has constructed an impenetrable, inescapable cage, effectively neutralizing the threat and guaranteeing that Matt will never again pose a danger to Nick, Sharon, or anyone else bearing the Newman name. However, even the most meticulously crafted plans of Victor Newman possess a fatal blind spot, born of his own immense hubris. In his singular focus on destroying Matt Clark, Victor has entirely overlooked the unpredictable, chaotic variables that exist within the very facility he chose for Matt's eternal imprisonment. He failed to account for the presence of another deeply disturbed, highly dangerous individual residing in the exact same maximum security ward, Patty Williams. Patty, whose severe mental illness has historically been weaponized to inflict catastrophic damage upon Genoa City, represents an uncontrolled element that Victor's algorithms of power simply cannot quantify or contain. The unholy convergence of Matt Clark and Patty Williams within the shadows of the psychiatric ward is the ultimate recipe for an apocalyptic disaster. When these two damaged, vengeful minds cross paths, there is an immediate, terrifying recognition of kindred spirits united by a common, burning hatred for the elite families of Genoa City. Matt brings to the table his raw, sociopathic fury, his brute force, and his relentless drive for domination. Patty, conversely, offers her intricate, deeply disturbed strategic brilliance, her intimate knowledge of the facility's weaknesses, and her terrifying ability to manipulate the perceptions of those around her. Together, they form a deadly, symbiotic alliance that defies all clinical expectations. The true danger of this alliance lies in the explosive, deeply buried secret that Matt holds regarding Victor's past. This secret, which Victor has spent decades and millions of dollars keeping hidden, becomes the foundational currency of Matt and Patty's partnership. Patty utilizes her cunning intellect to map out the blind spots in Victor's surveillance network, slowly and methodically gathering the resources necessary for a breach. Meanwhile, Matt promises that once they break free, he will deploy this ultimate weapon to dismantle the Newman Empire from the inside out. Their combined hatred creates a synergistic force of destruction, transforming them from isolated inmates into the architects of a masterfully coordinated revenge plot. As Victor Newman walks out of the rehabilitation center, the crisp air fills his lungs, and a profound sense of absolute triumph washes over him. He believes he has successfully anchored his son's recovery and permanently eradicated the greatest threat to his family's safety. He drives away from the clinic wrapped in the comforting illusion of total control, completely unaware that his definitive, ruthless solution has merely incubated a far more catastrophic nightmare. The impenetrable cage he built is already beginning to crack under the combined weight of Matt's vengeance and Patty's madness, setting the stage for a biblical reckoning that will soon descend upon Genoa City and threaten to burn the Newman legacy to the ground.